Hello and welcome back to BS Rugby. The Six Nations round 4 is just around the corner, and the second game of this weekend sees Scotland head over to Rome to take on the Italians. Here is my preview and predictions for the game alongside my good friend Dan. We had a look at the team lineups, at the key battles on the pitch, and of course gave our predictions at the end. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider giving it a like, comment your predictions down below, and of course hit that subscribe button. And because it's going to be such a big game and a big game for both teams, we're going to be doing a watch long live here on the channel. We're going live at around 2 o'clock UK time with kickoff at 2:15. There'll be a link in the description down below and also in the comments. So make sure to hit that link and you'll be notified of when we go live. Anyway, that's enough for me. Let's jump straight into the preview. How are you feeling as a Scotsman going into this game? Would you say it's a must-win, or is it a must-win with a bonus point? What's the feeling going into this game, would you say?
No, it's a really weird one. It's a story of what could have been, I think, for Scotland in the last 2 years in a row. I'm trying not to go nuclear because at the end of the day, I'm thinking, right, if you told me before the Six Nations kicked off, you'll go between England and Wales, you're going to have a narrow win and a narrow defeat, and then France were going to wipe the floor with everybody, I probably would have went, that sounds about right at the start of the tournament. So I think the Wales one was tough to take, but, you know, before competition kicked off, I had Scotland down for third. It's still entirely possible for them to get third, I'd say. But most likely something like fourth. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm a little bit worried about Scotland. They haven't performed well, I'd say, since last year in the Six Nations. I didn't think they performed well in the autumn. They've not performed well this year. They should have too much for Italy. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Gregor Townsend's sort of squad selection, but I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely, we will do. And you just mentioned there that there was a lot of expectation going into this Six Nations for Scotland, and yeah, it's been a tough one a lot of ways. Obviously, last time out you played against France. The game was very close out about half time. Scotland could have got that try just before half time with Hogg, but then France in the second half came and took it away. Italy, of course, come into this game. They haven't won a game yet in the Six Nations. They haven't won in the Six Nations for so many years. We'll go through the teams and then we'll get your thoughts on them. Once again, as I always say, I'm not Italian, surprisingly, so I'm going to try and get the pronunciations wrong, but I'm sorry if I don't quite get them right. So we'll start, as I said, with Italy and we'll run through them, and I'll get your thoughts as we go through. So starting at fullback, we got Edoardo Padovani starting at fullback with Pierre Bruno and Montana Ioane playing on the wings. Ignacio Brex, partners Leonardo Marin in the centres, with Paolo Garbisi starting at 10. Stephen Varney is out injured, so Callum Brayley comes in to the starting 15. In the forwards then, starting with the front row, you've got Danilo Fischetti, Giacomo Nicotera and Pietro Caccarelli. Alongside them in the locks, Nicolo Canone and Federico Ruzza, with Giovanni Pettinelli alongside captain Michele Lomaro at 7, and then Tawa Halafihi at 8, leaving the bench of Luca Bigi, Ivan Nemia, Guiso Zilocchi, David Sisi, Manuel Giuliani, Alessandro Fusco, Marco Zanon, and Ange Capuso. So that's the Italian team. Obviously, a lot of names there that we may not be 100% familiar with, but there are a few names, of course, that do stick out. The likes of Galvisi, Leonardo Marin, of course, at Benetton is a really young, exciting player. Usually plays at 10, but is being played as that kind of double playmaker in the middle. What do you make of that team from Italy?
I mean, it's good. I know a lot of people, especially the casual rugby fan, might underestimate Italy a bit. Their game against Ireland, they were robbed. I mean, they played with 13 men for most of it, with a ridiculous rule. 12 men at the end, and playing away in Dublin, which is never traditionally an easy venue to go, I don't think did them any favours. I think they actually played quite well against France. And even against England, I thought they played quite well as well. It didn't come off for them. I think there's a few decisions that didn't go that way. But, I mean, you look at the Italian side, it might not be as strong as the others in the Six Nations. But I mean, you've got some good players that would get into any of the home nation side. I think Ione on the wing would. Lamaro at 7, I think we talked about him before the campaign kicked off, but how good he was going to be, and I'm glad he's not disappointed. Garbeezy's incredible, and even if you glance at the bench, like Luca Biggie is a fantastic player. So there are sprinklings of real quality across that Italian sort of team, but in the final third, they just need one or two things to make it click. I don't think they're too far away from it. When Italy do jump, and they will give it another 2, maybe 3 years, I reckon, when you see them step up a level, I don't think it'll be a slow transition. It'll be like that. And they'll beat one team who, oh God, I didn't see that coming, and they'll probably go and beat someone else the week after. So it's just, when is that sudden jump going to come? I think tomorrow might be too soon, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't little whispers that were telling me to be careful.
Before we get to the Scotland team, how much of an impact do you think that the game being in Rome will have? Of course, I think Italy at home with their fans behind them does make a difference. I think we're both in agreement. We both expect Scotland to go over to Rome, win, and should win with a bonus point. But do you think that impact of it being in Rome in front of the home fans, do you think that will have quite a big impact on Italy especially?
Well, all the Six Nations have shown, compared to most sports, in rugby and in Six Nations in particular, home advantage is huge. There's not many teams that win away. I think I was reading somewhere a week or two ago that the best away record in the Six Nations is 55%, and that's by Ireland. They've got the best away record of any team. And to win a team as good as they are, to be winning just over half your games away, I think Italy at home definitely gives them advantage. I mean, in my head, when I try to do my score predictions, if you think, what would you think the score would be? I always try to give the home team a 7-0 advantage in my head before kickoff. I think, if I have to be honest, I think home advantage is probably worth about 7 points. So,
Yeah, it could have quite a big impact, definitely. And let's have a look at the Scotland team, and I'll get your thoughts on it. We'll run through it here first of all. So Stuart Hogg plays at fullback with Cal Stein on the wing alongside Darcy Graham, with Chris Harris and Sam Johnson playing the centres. Finn Russell and Ali Price continue at 9 and 10. In the front row, you got Pierre Schumann, George Turner and Xander Fagerson, with Sam Skinner and Grant Gilchrist playing in the locks. Really impressed by Rory Darge against France. He starts alongside Hamish Watson, who's recovered from COVID, and Matt Fagerson then plays at 8. Leaving a bench then of McNally, Alan Dell, WP Nell, Jamie Hodson, Magnus Bradbury. Ben Velicott will be on the bench for this one, so he's been tearing up in the URC. Adam Hastings is back in the Scotland squad this week. He's straight onto the bench. And then Sione Tuipulotu. Are you surprised that maybe some more fringe players weren't given starts in this one? I mean, Cal Stein is the big name, really, to be given a start, to be honest. Are you surprised that he didn't rest the likes of Finn Russell and Hogg for this one? Or is it, as we said at the start, potentially a must-win game?
I don't think it's a must-win. I mean, look, the Six Nations is gone from them now. I mean, it's one of these things where they can still win it, but all the stars would have to align for it to happen. So they now need to start focusing towards the next World Cup. And even though it's a fairly strong squad that's out there, it actually angered me a little bit watching it. So my biggest one is going to go Blair Kinghorn. We had Hastings out of the Six Nations for the entire competition so far, and especially in the Wales game and the France game, we would have been where we needed them. And probably before kickoff, you thought, this game right here, this is where Blair Kinghorn would have been given a start to, show his mettle at 10 in an international position. He's nowhere to be seen. But we've got Hastings back for the one game that we've not needed him so far. I mean, look, Rory Darge, he's had a great breakthrough season. I think we talked about him earlier on before the Six Nations kicked off. This guy is so good. I think Glove put up on Twitter, 6 and 7 is Mr. and Mr. Steal Your Ball. So I mean, even look at that backline. I mean, between 4 and 8, just it's super strong. I would have liked to have seen a couple more fringe players start. Look, Kyle Steyn, yeah, he's good. He's gone back to Sam Johnson. I might have liked to have seen Sione get another start in at 12, or if he was going to try someone else. Personally, I would have actually benched both Hogg and Finn Russell for this game. I think with them being so talismanic for Scotland over the years, I think both of them have become slightly complacent. They're both world-class players, but sometimes they try too hard to win the game individually or between the two of them. Even though they've got good players around them, they're still playing like they're playing in a Scotland squad in 2012, which, you know, your best player was Jim Hamilton. So I think even though you realistically you're not going to drop either of them long term, I think just to have that little doubt in the back of their minds, like, hold on, I have been benched here. I need to up my game. Yeah, so I am disappointed that he didn't experiment a bit more. But look, it's a strong side, and look, if they don't come away with a bonus point with this side that's out, I think some serious questions have to be asked. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with what you said there. Some serious questions definitely have to be asked. In terms of Italy, this Six Nations, I think the best we've seen from them really was that opening, 30, 40 minutes against France. And since then, we really haven't seen all that much. Of course, the game against Ireland, that ridiculous rule with having the replacement hooker off injured once the original hook had been sent off, and then having to take number 8 off. So there to play with 30 men. I was actually impressed by some elements of their defence in that game, and I thought Ireland just didn't capitalise on the opportunities they had. As you said, Michele Lamaro, I think, has been outstanding this Six Nations. I think he's really stood up and counted. And as you said, Monty Ioane as well on the wing. He's been tearing it up in the URC. For Scotland, what would be the game plan for this one? First 20 minutes going to be really important, you feel, against Italy, because if Italy get their noses in front and get a bit of confidence, that's when it could get difficult for Scotland. So how do you think Scotland would approach this game?
I think they just need to play their own game. Too often, I've said that's probably one of Scotland's big weaknesses, that sometimes they try to adapt their game plan to play their opposition, where you look at England don't do that against anyone. Ireland don't do that against anyone. Sorry, that's my phone going off. You look at the URC, Leinster played Leinster ball the whole time. Gatland did the same way, his Welsh side that dominated the Six Nations for years. Scotland need to stop trying to adapt their game plan to fit other teams. When they played France, they didn't play their own game. So they like to play fast and loose. And look, that dry ball really sort of helps that. And you're not going to have many cities in the world to play better sort of dry rugby than Rome. So I think they need to get off to a good start. If they don't, I wouldn't be too worried. I think they went 7 or 10-0 down, if I remember correctly, against Italy last year, and they still put 50 on them by the end of it. So I think just play their own game, play a bit fast, play a bit loose, get the confidence going again. See what some of these new boys can do. I'm excited to see Rory Darge again. I'd like to see Kyle Steyn get a little bit more game time. I quite like him as a player. I think Scotland have struggled to get their ball out to their wingers this year. Darcy Graham's hardly touched the ball this year, but when he does, he seems to score. People have criticised Van der Merwe a little bit this year, although when he has got the ball, he's run half the field with it. He doesn't seem to get it very often. Yeah, I think it's just fast and loose, really.
Yeah. Before we get to our predictions for this one, talk to me a bit about Ben Velikov, because I know that myself and you, we're big fans of him. He's been really good for Edinburgh this season. First of all, though, before you tell me a bit about him, are you surprised that he hasn't had more involvement in the competition so far? Or was that just down to the form of Ben White?
Yeah, no, I am very surprised he's not got a lot of involvement. I thought he was going to be on the bench anyway against England on that first game. I know that domestically he was on better form than Ali Price, but he hadn't done it in an international setup yet enough to tear that jersey away from Price. And then I don't know, Townsend must have saw something on the training pitch in White that he just didn't see in Vellacott. Vellacott is a different type of player from Price. He's much more attacking than Ali Price is. He doesn't box kick as much. He snipes a lot. He'll hit you on the counter. He's really fast. He can, if you break, he seems to always be in the right place at the right time, which is a very hard skill to have. And because he's got such a low center of gravity, and he's quite stocky as well for a scrum half. He's hard to knock over. He's strong. I don't know. If Darcy Graham could play scrum half, it'd be Ben Vellacott. So I really hope that he gets at least half an hour on Saturday.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him with ball in hand in the URC. He's just been taking penalties quickly, dancing around, darting all over the place, and really just speeding the game up, which has been good to see. So finally then, what are your predictions for this one? What's your head saying and what's your heart saying? Are they both saying the same thing?
Yeah, about 35-10 to Scotland, something like that.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't.
By more.
No, Scotland, they don't seem to be as good as they were last season, even though their squad seems to be that bit better. It just hasn't clicked for them. I think Scotland will get the bonus point. I don't think Italy will get close enough to get the losing bonus point. I don't think they'll put 50 on them like last year. I think a bit like Wales in the first game against Ireland. It's not Italy losing by 50 to Ireland. I think it's a poor showing of where they were. And I think the same thing like when Wales lost heavily to Ireland the first game, people wrote Wales off there and then, including myself. And you write Wales off at your own peril. You write any quality team off at your own peril. And I think to expect Scotland to put 50 on Italy like Ireland did, they're going to be playing against 2 extra men, 3, 4 if you include the crowds. So no, look, I think they'll do a professional job. They'll score 4 or 5 tries, I reckon. But I don't see them putting 50 on them.
Mm. Yeah, I'd say a little bit more. I'd say maybe like 45-10, something like that. I think in the opening 10 minutes or so, I think Italy will be, they'll have their anthem. They'll feel very up for the game. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do approach the game. If they really take it to Scotland, if the game opens up, we know that's going to really shift the balance of the game towards Scotland. That's what Scotland want. But if Italy can frustrate Scotland, they could cause some problems. But I'm in agreement with you. I think this is going to be a bonus point win for Scotland. So there we go. That's your preview for Italy against Scotland. Don't forget, tonight we're going to be doing a watch along for Wales against France. So make sure to join me live for that one as well. We'll be going live very shortly after this has come out this evening. And of course, then for tomorrow, join me live for this one, Italy against Scotland. Coverage begins at 2 o'clock with kickoff at 2:15. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It's free to do, trying to hit 3,000 subs by the end of the Six Nations. And of course, make sure to hit that like button and let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, folks, and enjoy the rugby over the weekend.